Good day, everyone. So we will be discussing political economy, and we will be explaining the political economy and its classical traditions for contemporary political economy analysis. So before we will proceed to our discussion, let us know kung unsa ang definition sa political economy. So I will be playing a video for you to watch.
Political economy is the study of how economic theory and methods influence political ideology. Political economy looks at the interaction between economies, laws, and politics. It studies how institutions, such as capitalism, socialism, and communism, develop in social and economic systems, and it analyzes how public policy is created and implemented. Economics and politics are intrinsically linked. An economy is frequently one of the biggest points of contention between different political parties, and a political party's ideologies will frequently dictate its economic policies. When power shifts from one party to another, the economy can change as well. It's important to note that varied and conflicting interests in a nation's economic development make political economy a complex area of study. It also involves game theory. Since many groups are competing for finite resources and power, it's important for them to determine the course of action that will yield the best results, and the probability of reaching those results.
Alright, so class, political economy. It is the study of production and trade and their relations with law, custom, and government, and with the distribution of national income and wealth. Originally, ang political economy, it meant the study of the conditions under which productions or consumptions within limited parameters was organized in nation states. So in that way, political economy expanded the importance or even the value of economics. So if you say economics, it comes from the Greek word oikos, meaning home, and nomos, meaning law or order. So political economy was meant to express the laws of production of wealth at the state level, just as economics was the ordering of the home. So there are different groups in the economy that adhere to their own theory on how the economy should be developed. But class, political economy is a complex field that covers a broad range of political interests. So in short, kaning political economy is an interdisciplinary. If we say interdisciplinary, it relates to more than one branch of knowledge. So it relates to more than one branch of the social sciences that focuses on the interrelationships among individuals, pwede sa governments, and the public policy. So, political economists study how economic theories such as capitalism, socialism, and even communism work in the real world. So, at its root, any economic theory is a methodology that is adapted as a means of directing the distribution of a finite amount of resources in a way that it is beneficial siya for the greatest number of individuals. So class, in a wider sense, ang political economy was once the common term na ginagamit for the field we now call as economics. So, si Adam Smith, si John Stuart Mill, and even si Jean-Jacques Rousseau all use the term to describe their theories. So, the briefer term economy was substituted in the early 20th century na with the development of more rigorous na statistical methods for analyzing economic factors. So, kaning term nga class, kaning term na political economy, is still widely used to describe any nga government policy that has an economic nga impact. So we have different components of political economy. So first, we have the classical political economy that studies the work of philosophers such as Machiavelli, Adam Smith, and Karl Marx. Then we also have the modern political economy. So on the other hand, studies the work of modern philosophers or mga economists na to and political scientists such as John Maynard Keynes, Milton Friedman, and even Friedrich Hayek. Then, going back to the classical political economy, kaning classical economic theory manggod, it was developed shortly after the birth of Western na capitalism class. It refers to the dominant school of thought for economics in the early 18th and 19th na centuries. So, classical economic theory helped countries to migrate from monarchic rule. If we say monarchic rule, katong uso pa ang mga queen, king ang nagapadagan sa isa ka country, padulong sa capitalistic democracies with self-regulation. So, with the study of Adam Smith na gibuhat niya atong 1776 sa iyahang libro nga na ang title kay Wealth of Nations, it highlights some of the most prominent development in classical economics. So, I will be playing a video in relation to the Wealth of Nation made by Adam Smith in 1776. So, let us proceed to the video.
Why is The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith such an important book? That's a fair question. First of all, with 36,000 citations, it's the second most cited book in the social sciences, written before 1950, just after Das Kapital from Karl Marx. The Wealth of Nations was written in the 18th century in Scotland, just at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. The book was a game changer in its time. The book came out back at a time when economics was thought of as imports versus exports. Imports being bad for a country and exports being good for a country. This theory is called mercantilism. The Wealth of Nations, on the other hand, laid out the foundation for a new theory called the free market theory. It did so by introducing the so-called invisible hand of the free market, a metaphor for how actions by individuals that are motivated by self-interest can lead to a greater benefit for society. The invisible hand theory went on to become the basis for a lot of economic thinking still relevant today. Additionally, he talked about the role of government being limited, however crucial to a functioning market economy. For example, through the protection of property rights. The importance of trade, and that increasing efficiency in production leads to more wealth. Another reason why studying the Wealth of Nations is great is that it's easy to understand and a great starting point in learning economics. Moreover, it's the basis for a lot of other economists, whether they agree or disagree with them, and therefore crucial in understanding their books and ideas. Adam Smith is still one of the most influential economists of all time. The Wealth of Nations is one of the most influential books ever written, and understanding it will help us understand the world around us a little better. Well, it is worth saying that there is a lot to debate here. Not all of Smith's ideas are universally accepted as correct or useful. This is why thinking about them with a critical mindset is all the more important. In our coming book series on The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, we're therefore focusing on his most important ideas and going through the book chapter by chapter, so you can understand his ideas without reading the book. Yes!
So Adam Smith's 1776 release of The Wealth of Nations highlights some of the most prominent development in classical economics. His revelations centered around free trade and concept called the invisible hand at what you call this, the one that discussed the video earlier. So kaning invisible hand, it served as the theory for the beginning stages of domestic and international supply and demand. So this theory, the dual and competing forces of demand side and the sell side, moves the market to price and production equilibrium. So Smith studies help promote domestic trade and led to more efficient and rational pricing in the product markets na naga-based siya on the supply and demand. So another one is that in relation to the classical na siya class, another one is that the theories help to explain the value, the price, the supply, the demand, and even the distribution was the focus of the classical economics. Then classical economics was eventually replaced with more updated na ideas such as the Keynesian economics, which called for more government intervention that we will be discussing on the next slide. So, the second component of political economy is the modern political economy. So, on the other hand, it studies the work of modern philosophers, economists, and political scientists such as John Maynard Keynes, Milton Friedman, and Friedrich Hayek. So, modern application of the political economy study. So, it works to more contemporary philosophers and economists. So kauban pod nila ani si even though naasa part si Karl Marx on the classical political economy, naapoy gi-provide si Karl Marx on the modern applications sa political economy. So si Marx manggod became disenchanted with capitalism as a whole dito sa classical political economy. That's the reason naapod siya yung work na gi-provide on the modern political aspect. So, he believed manggod that individuals suffered under regimented social classes where one or more individuals controlled the greater proportion of wealth. So, under communist theories, this would be eradicated siya. Walaon siya, tanggalon kumbaga. Allowing everyone to live equally while the economy functions is based on the ability and needs of each participant. So, under sa communist regimes, resources are controlled and distributed by the government. So most people confuse socialism and communism rather. Sorry. So it is true there are some similarities between the socialism and communism nga notable kaayo. First, both stress bridging the gap between sa rich and poor, and that society should relegate equilibrium among all the citizens. But there are inherent differences between the two. While resources sa communist society are owned and controlled by the government, individuals in a socialist type of society hold property. People can still purchase goods and services under socialism, while those who live in a communist society class are provided with their basic necessities by the government. So, the study of political economy is influenced by game theory. It was mentioned sa ato ang kuan kaganiya, sa ato ang discussion kaganiya, ang game theory. So, unsa kaya ning game theory? So, if we say game theory class, it is a mathematical framework developed para i-address ang mga problema with conflicting or cooperating parties who are able to make rational na mga decisions. So, kani siya nga theory primarily deals with finding the optimal rational decision in various scenarios. So, game theory is a relatively new discipline. So, the modern game theory was introduced in the works of John von Neumann in the 1920s. So, kani si von Neumann o si Oscar Morgenstern, si John Nash were the main contributors jud aning game theory. So, the theory offers a wide number of applications in different fields, including economics, political science, finance, psychology, and even sa biology. So, that was the game theory. So, as the political economy influenced by the game theory, it involves different groups of competing for finite resources and power that assess which policies will provide the most beneficial nga results. So, it also relates to the capability of the economy to achieve the desired results. The study of political economy manggod focuses on three major areas. So, first kay ang interdisciplinary study. So, from an interdisciplinary standpoint, political economy focuses on economics, sociology, and political science to understand how economic system or political institution and the environment affect and influence each other. So, the three areas in interdisciplinary study include economic models of political processes. So, the international political economy and how it affects international relations and resource allocation in different economic system. Excuse me. So, in short class, the interdisciplinary approach draws on sociology, economics, and political science to define how government institution, an economic system, and a political environment affect and influence each other. Then, panduha, the new political economy. So, the new political economy area treats economic policies as a belief or action that must be further discussed rather than as a framework that needs to be analyzed. So, it unites the ideologies of classical economics and even the new advances in the field of politics and economics. So, the approach dismisses old ideals about agency in the interests of states and markets and aims to encourage political debates about societal wants and needs. So, this new political economy approach is studied siya as a set of actions and even sa imuhang beliefs or imuhang paniniwala. And it seeks to make explicit na mga assumptions that lead to political debates about societal preferences. So, the new political economy combines the ideals of classical political economies and newer analytical advances in economics and even sa politics. Then, ang pangatlo is the international political economy. So, international political economy, it is also known as global political economy. So, this approach analyzes the link between economics and international nga relations. It draws from many academic areas including political science, economics, sociology, cultural studies, and even history. So, the international political economy is ultimately concerned with how political forces like states, individual actors, and institution global economic have an interactions to each other. And next, let us proceed to for a moment to political economic analysis. So, political economic analysis, it focuses on how power and resources are distributed and contested in different contexts and the implications for development outcomes. So, class, this political economic analysis, it gets beneath formal structures to reveal underlying na mga interest nato, maliban sa interest, mga incentives and institutions that enable or frustrate change. So, in addition to this, it looks at the informal and formal rules that govern behavior in a market system. Also, class, understanding the different political economy theory, it sheds light on what to analyze. So, in short, kaning political economy analysis is about understanding the political dimensions of any context and actively using this information to inform policy and even sa programming nga aspect. So, politics is the formal and informal ways through which contestation or cooperation occurs in a society. So, we have three different kind of political economic theories. So, we have liberalism. So, the liberal ideology stems from the concept of labor and exchange and the use of land, labor, and capital to produce durable na mga goods. So, liberal economists believe that economics can benefit everyone and that society can progress with the improvement in the standard of living. So, kaning liberalism class or the liberal ideology, it stems from the concept of labor and exchange and the use of land, labor, and capital to produce durable na goods. Diba? So, economic liberalism is based on the principle of personal liberty, private property, and limited government interference. So, the term liberalism should be understood in its historical context. So, classical liberalism emphasized liberty from government regulations. So, in the economic context po na aspect, not on the historical context, this would include the elimination of restriction on the choice of occupations or transfers of land. So, liberalism asserts that self-interest is a basic component of human nature. So, in the economic arena, if we will be putting it on the perspective of in the economics, producers provide us with goods not out of concern for our well-being class, but because of the reason their desire is to make a profit. Same with the laborers or workers. They sell their labor and buy the producer's goods as a means of satisfying their own wants. So this leads to the belief in a natural harmony of interest, by each individual pursuing their own interests, the best interest of society are served. So the forces of a free competitive market economy would guide production and also ang exchange and even sa distribution in a manner that no government could improve upon. So, ang role lang diri as a government is limited na protection of property rights, then the enforcement of contracts providing public goods, and also maintaining internal and external nga security. Then pangduha is the Marxism. So Marxism states that inequality is bad and wealth is generated from labor and exchange. So it does not support the private ownership of the resources, which it believes leads to inequality and only favors the needs of the elite and not of the whole society. Kumbaga, katong mga kuan ng in terms of the elite is katong mga mayayaman lang or kaya lang maka-afford nga mga goods or services. So, kaning Marxism class, kaning mga Marxism states that inequality is bad and wealth is generated gikan sa pag-labor o sa mga pag-exchange og goods and services. So, with the Marxism, dili jud nila gina-support ang private ownership of resources. Kay kato gani magkaroon og inequality. And syempre with that, kung nahunaon nimo o kung dili kaya ma-afford sa isa ka tao, it will only favor katong sa mga tao nga kaya i-afford tong mga goods. So, the Marxian economist or the Marxian economics or Marxist economics focuses on the role of labor in the development of an economy, and it is also critical of the classical approach to wage and productivity that is developed by Adam Smith. So, according kay Marx, he argued that the specialization of the labor force coupled with a growing population, it will pushes the wages down or ilahang sweldo, adding that the value placed on goods and services does not accurately account for the true cost of the labor. Then we also have the economic nationalism. So this is the belief that state possesses all the power and the individuals should work to make use of the economic benefits. So ang ideology niya ani nga koan nga political economic theory, the states that the government should control all resources and that individuals are ignorant and cannot create a cohesive society without a strong state. So, class, economic nationalism is also called as economic patriotism. And also, another term na pwede na to ma-relate into the economic nationalism is the economic populism. So, it is an ideology that favors state interventionism over other market mechanisms. So, with policies such as domestic control of the economy, labor, and even capital formation. So, even if this requires the imposition of tariffs and other restriction on the movement of labor, goods, and capital. So, the core belief aning economic nationalism is that the economy should serve nationalist goals. So, economic nationalists oppose globalization or at least question the benefit of unrestricted na free trade. So, ang ilahang gina-favor aning economic nationalism is the protectionism. So, to economic nationalists, ang market dapat or the markets are the subordinate to the state and should serve the interest of the state. For example, aning interest of state, it should provide national security and even accumulate military power. So that is the three political economy theory. First, the liberalism, the Marxism, and lastly, the economic nationalism. So with today's discussion nato, so that is the last nato nga topic for today. We have discussed the political economy, its definition, and even its components. So we have the classical political economy and the modern political economy. And we also watch a video regarding sa wealth of the nation na gibuhat ni Adam Smith, and we also have discussed the different the let's go back there. The three major areas of political economy. So we have the interdisciplinary study, the new political economy, and the international political economy. Then we also have discussed the political economic analysis and the different political economy theory, the liberalism, Marxism, and the economic nationalism. So that is all for today, and thank you for listening to our discussion for this day. If you have question and clarification, do not hesitate to ask. Thank you and God bless.